Taylor Swift just broke podcast records with a tearful album reveal on Travis Kelce's show. But is this her triumphant comeback, or the start of her downfall amid fresh controversies? In a raw 124-minute episode of New Heights that shattered viewership highs with over 10.8 million views in hours, Swift opened up like never before, crying over reclaiming her masters, sharing PDA-filled moments with her boyfriend Travis, and unveiling full details on her 12th studio album, The Life of a Showgirl. Set for October 3rd with upbeat tracks featuring Sabrina Carpenter and infectious melodies born from her Eras Tour life. Yet, as fans celebrated, whispers of backlash grew, from award snubs to claims of overexposure. This is the crossroads of a titan, a figure whose unprecedented success may have finally become her greatest liability.
We have the record-breaking night now for Taylor Swift.
Impressive records.
Setting records worldwide.
The story of 2025 for Taylor Swift began, as it so often does, with a shockwave. On August 11th, a cryptic countdown on her website expired, revealing her 12th studio album, The Life of a Showgirl. Following the dense lyricism of the Tortured Poets department, the announcement signaled another reinvention, another era, meticulously crafted for her legions of fans. The news immediately dominated the cultural conversation, a testament to her unique ability to command global attention with a single Instagram post. This is the engine of the Swift economy, an engine that has propelled her to a financial stratosphere few artists ever reach. A Forbes report from April 2025 placed her net worth at a staggering $1.6 billion, making her the wealthiest female musician on the planet. What's remarkable is how she built it. In an age of celebrity side hustles, Swift's fortune is almost entirely self-made from her music, her catalog, her royalties, and the earth-shattering revenue from her Eras Tour, which alone grossed over $1 billion. She became a billionaire not by selling cosmetics or liquor, but by selling her art. This is the foundation of the musical prodigy narrative, an artist so proficient, so connected to her audience, that her work generates wealth on a scale that rivals entire industries. Her power isn't just cultural, it's tangible, tracked by the Bloomberg Billionaires Index and solidified by a real estate portfolio valued at approximately $150 million. She is, by every metric, the apex predator of the music world.
For Taylor, it honestly has nothing to do with business. She's just being a good person. But it just so happens that being a good person is good for business.
But this is where the paradox begins. At the very moment her financial and creative power reached its zenith, the institutional pillars of the industry began to push back. The 2025 awards season was a stunning rebuke. At the Grammy Awards in February, she arrived with 6 major nominations for the Tortured Poets department, including the coveted Album of the Year. She left with none. It was a shutout that sent ripples through the media, sparking fierce debate. Was this, as some analysts suggested, a case of simple voter fatigue from an academy grown tired of her dominance? Or was it something more? The pattern repeated itself at the American Music Awards in May. 6 more nominations, 0 wins. For an artist who holds the all-time record for most wins in that show's history, the snub was deafening. Her fans, a famously mobilized online army, cried foul, alleging industry bias and even sabotage. It was a narrative of the empire striking back, of a system correcting for a figure it deemed too powerful, too ubiquitous. To understand this friction, you have to look at the defining battle of her career, a conflict that culminated in 2025 but began years earlier, the fight for her masters. When her original recordings were sold in 2019 to a company owned by music manager Scooter Braun, an industry figure she considered an antagonist, Swift was faced with a choice. She could accept that her life's work was now in the hands of her rivals, or she could do something unprecedented. This is the core of her prodigy argument. Her response was not just a legal battle, it was an act of strategic genius. She announced she would re-record her first 6 albums, appending Taylor's version to each. On one side, it was a principled stand for artistic ownership, a rallying cry for creators everywhere. She framed it as a way to devalue the original recordings and reclaim her legacy. As she put it, her music was only valuable because of the art and the fans who loved it, and she was taking both with her. Her supporters saw this as a checkmate. She wasn't just an artist, she was a master strategist. She transformed a devastating business loss into a commercial and critical triumph. The re-recorded albums, packed with From the Vault tracks, became massive global events, topping charts and introducing her early work to a new generation. Her fan base responded with fervor, deliberately choosing to stream and purchase Taylor's version over the originals. She had successfully weaponized her own fandom, turning them into an economic force that could alter the valuation of music catalogs. The final victory came in 2025 with the news that she had successfully acquired the rights to her original masters from Shamrock Holdings, the firm that had later purchased them from Braun. She had not only rebuilt her house next door, she had finally bought back the original land. It was a masterclass in long-term strategy, proving that in the new music economy, the connection between an artist and their fans is the ultimate asset. And yet, this very victory contains the seeds of the backlash. The con argument against Swift isn't that she is untalented or unsuccessful, but that her ambition has created a cultural saturation that invites controversy. The Masters fight, while a righteous cause in the eyes of many, was also a very public, multi-year drama that kept her at the center of every conversation. Her critics argue that this ubiquity is a double-edged sword. Every album drop, every record broken, every public appearance with her boyfriend Travis Kelce, and every awards show appearance or non-appearance is magnified into a global news event. Analyses in various publications began to explore a growing narrative that America was starting to turn on Taylor Swift. The charge was one of overexposure, the constant output, the strategic control of her narrative, and the sheer scale of her fame began to feel less like artistry and more like a carefully managed corporate takeover of culture. And it's here you have to ask yourself, is the backlash a product of her own relentless strategy, or is it an inevitable tax on female success at this scale? The criticism of her private jet's carbon footprint, the resurfacing of old feuds with figures like Kanye West, the anger over her perceived political influence, they all feed into this central critique. The controversy magnet isn't just attracting random disputes. Her very presence now generates the friction. The 2025 award snubs, from this perspective, weren't an industry conspiracy. They were a symptom of a culture hitting its limit, reflexively seeking a new underdog because the reigning champion had simply become too dominant to root for. So we are left with two portraits of the same woman. On one hand, the musical prodigy, a generational songwriter and a brilliant businesswoman who outmaneuvered an entire industry to reclaim her own art. A self-made billionaire who built an empire on the foundations of her own talent and an unbreakable bond with her audience. On the other hand, a controversy magnet, a figure so omnipresent that her success has bred resentment and fatigue. A cultural titan whose every move is now scrutinized, criticized, and debated, turning her from a relatable hero into a polarizing global force. Who is the real Taylor Swift in 2025? The master of her own destiny, who rewrote the rules of the music industry in her favor? Or the product of a perfectly executed and perhaps overwhelming campaign for cultural dominance? The evidence has been presented. Both sides have been heard. The rest of the story is for you to decide. Tell us your verdict in the comments below. Is she the ultimate musical prodigy, or has she become a magnet for controversy, and why?